Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to talk about cleaning up Battlefield 4, which means removing things from the game that don't really add to the player experience or even detract from the player experience. Now, it's pretty common for developers, especially of huge franchises like Battlefield and Call of Duty, to be pressured to put new things into the game for each sequel. You know, you have to add something new to the game, right, to bring the consumers in. You got to tantalize them with some sort of new feature. This often leads to game bloating and lots of features that we don't really need or in fact actually end up hurting the game. Battlefield is certainly a victim of this process, and I've made a list of things that have been added to Battlefield throughout the years that I think ultimately, at least in their current state, have detracted from the overall experience. First on that list is the AC-130, something that came in Battlefield 3, was annoying from the start, incredibly overpowered, and just didn't really bring any sort of positive elements to the game experience. It was great for trailers and making the game look like it was super advanced and cool, but it really does hurt the gameplay, and it does the same thing in BF4. And on the same lines, what about commanders? They have items like cruise missiles and UAVs and other things that you basically can't anticipate, prepare for, and kind of hinder the experience when you're on the receiving end. When you're on the attacking end, or the team that's basically receiving all the benefits from the commander, it's not really enhancing the enjoyment that much either. Sure, there's a few counterexamples of good commanders really doing a great job of coordinating teams and organizing strategies, but it's very rare, and rather than coming up with a very complex system for trying to balance out commanders and making sure that there's always two of them, personally, I would just get rid of it and allow players to play the game on the ground. How about some of the class items that are very hard to anticipate or fight against? The UCAV, the support class, gets a little explosive airplane that flies into the air, rams into things, blows them up, kills tons of infantry, is really annoying at the beginning of rounds when you know where everybody is starting, especially on chain link game modes or rush game modes. It is just overpowered, annoying, and shouldn't be in the game. How about Mortars? They've been in the game since BF3 and they've gone through so many balance changes trying to make these things not overpowered or not underpowered. Just get rid of them. They're annoying. Nobody likes being killed with them, even if they are underpowered. Very hard to try and fight against a mortar unless you have a mortar of your own. How about slams, especially ones that you can place underwater, you can't see or spot or really destroy for that matter. So you're driving a boat along, all of a sudden you hit some slams, couldn't anticipate it in any way whatsoever. Gotta get rid of that bug or just remove slams from the game. Do we really need them? We already have landmines. How about impact grenades? Now I gotta say these are getting a huge nerf in the next patch. The number count is going down to 1 and the damage is getting very low, but at the same time it's still something that is very hard to anticipate and somebody can throw without a moment's notice. So you don't get any sort of grenade warning, no ability to back up from. Personally, I don't like it, and I don't think it should be a grenade option in Battlefield at all. Let's move into the next category. From things you can't anticipate, we are now moving into items that are just simply annoying. The first on the list is the XM25. This device was mostly intended to deal with rooftop camping snipers. Somebody's up on a tall roof somewhere, probably Siege of Shanghai, and you can't really get a good line of sight on them. Well, here's the XM25. You can zero it in and shoot some explosive rounds just over the ledge, killing anybody hiding there. Annoying to be on the receiving end, but frankly it's also annoying to be shot by snipers. This device was brought into the game to try and deal with the huge issue that was rooftop camping. The problem is that the XM25 is just being used all over the place. It's very easy to use and very annoying to be on the receiving end. I wish it just wasn't in the game at all. How about the SUAV, that little launchable airplane that the Recon class gets? Have you ever seen anybody use this in a highly tactical manner? No, because they're going to be using the MAV if they want to spot people or destroy equipment around the map. The SUAV is just a glorified little road killing machine, and it's nothing but annoying. It needs to be removed from the game. How about the plethora of grenade launchers that have emerged in the recent Battlefield games? We now have the 3GL, which is the triple grenade launcher. It's not particularly overpowered, it's just annoying. What about the LVG? Nobody likes that thing, and it's also really hard to anticipate if the grenade basically gets to your feet right when it's about to detonate. I hate the LVG, and frankly, removing more grenade launchers I think would actually improve the player experience. Let's look at the Javelin rocket launcher, something that locks onto any ground vehicle, fires, tracks it, blows it up. This is incredibly annoying in smaller vehicles that don't have any lock-on warnings like dirt bikes and stuff like that. Easy kill for a Javelin user. It's also pretty annoying in a tank user, although you have some decent defenses against it, but it will kill anybody repairing a tank. Kind of overpowered, kind of annoying. Let's just get rid of it. Do we need all these lock-on weapons in the game? The next category of items is stuff that I call shit that doesn't matter. How about the Eod Bot? Does anybody really use that tactically? Sure, somebody somewhere has armed an MCOM and it's actually gone off and they've gotten points and they said, yay, the Eod Bot was worthwhile. But other than that, it's not really in the game to do anything other than annoy people. You go around, you try and get blowtorch kills with it, you blind them with the little light on there, but it's not really serving much of a purpose. You would be a much more useful engineer if you're actually engaging in the fight as a soldier using your other gadgets. How about the MP APS? Have you ever seen anybody use that effectively? Me either. Why is it even in the game? Now the next item I want to talk about kind of has its own category, and I don't want to remove it from the game. That is the spawn beacon. What I would like to remove from the game is the ability to parachute in from the spawn beacon. This has basically broken the game in so many situations, allowing players to get up to locations that they're not normally supposed to get to. Just remove the parachuting function from this item and you will fix so many problems and imbalances with this game, it's not even funny. Now how about items or features in the game that are just so clearly good that you should be using them all the time, and if you're using anything else then you're playing the game wrong. The first thing is the med bag. If you're playing the medic class, there's simply no point in using the smaller med pack. The med bag you throw on the ground, it heals everybody around you and it heals you over time, and the healing process is not stopped when you're shot. The med pack, when you get shot, it stops the healing process. You can only heal one person at a time. I think the med bag should actually be removed from the game because personally I think medics are a little bit too powerful, and by placing a med bag down near a good firefight you can actually absorb so many more shots than your opponent. It just doesn't make sense not to be using a med bag, and I think it really does imbalance a lot of firefights out there. Why not just put the med pack in the game, call it good, make medics actually have to work a lot harder to get their heal points. The next one is the defensive field upgrade. 9 times out of 10 you should be using this field upgrade because it allows you to absorb more shots before you die. Why would you not take that over anything else in the game? True, the sniper does have some field upgrades that allow him to hold his scope steady for longer periods of time, which is very useful, and the engineer gets some that allows him to carry more rockets and landmines and that kind of thing, but mostly defensive field upgrade is the only one you should ever be using. If you have something in the game that really overpowers everything else, maybe you should look at either rebalancing it or just removing it altogether. Now the last segment of this video I have categorized as air cleanup. The skies in Battlefield 4 are just chaos and imbalanced and painful, and nobody likes it. I don't like flying jets. I don't really enjoy flying helicopters as much anymore. There's a lot of things we could do to try and clean up the skies in Battlefield, balance it out more, and just make it more fun for both the players on the ground and in the air. First one is get rid of active radar missiles. Holy crap, these things are ridiculously overpowered. They shouldn't have been added to the game. No point in having them. The second thing that needs to be removed is the ability to repair helicopters while you're in the air. I'm sorry, but there used to be a point in Battlefield where it was really tactical to pull out of an engagement once you're taking too much damage, land your helicopter and repair it. Now you can just stay up in the air, have an engineer repair your chopper, and just keep dominating the battlefield. It's incredibly overpowered, and I don't know why it's still in the game. Now, one of the last things on the list is probably the most controversial, but if it was up to me, I would remove jets from Battlefield altogether. Bad Company 2 did, and it's honestly one of my favorite Battlefield games out there. Jets are just one of those things that is impossible to balance. You have a ton of firepower tied in with one of the fastest moving vehicles in the game. They can control all their engagements, and when you get an extremely good jet pilot, there's very little you can do to actually counter them or take them down, other than trying to make extremely overpowered weapons in the game that are designed specifically to counter jets. Lock-on missiles, really powerful anti-air tanks, so all of a sudden you start imbalancing whole other parts of the game game just to try and counter jets properly. Now obviously in a large scale battlefield representation there would be fighter jets and A-10s doing bombing runs and that sort of thing. It would be neat if the developers could work that into sort of a airstrike system like Bad Company 2 had, where the recon class could call in an airstrike and then maybe you would see a jet fly overhead and drop a JDAM on something. It would be cool to see jets as more of eye candy tied into airstrikes and other things like that, rather than being player controlled vehicles. I know it's very near and dear to the heart of what Battlefield is, but frankly I want a balanced game. I want a game that's fun to play all the time, and I just don't see any possible way to balance out jets. And frankly, removing jets would allow you to better balance out anti-air tanks and probably get rid of a lot of the anti-air rocket launchers in the game, since you would only have to deal with helicopters at that point. Now I really do like making these discussion videos and talking about ways of fixing Battlefield 4 because I am a big fan of the Battlefield franchise and I'm always looking for ways to make the game a lot better. But a very easy way to test out a lot of these ideas would be giving admins the right to just literally not make certain vehicles and weapons available. Rather than banning you or killing you whenever you used an item that a server didn't approve of, just make it something that you literally can't equip in your player class or you can't use as a vehicle in the game. This would be a really cool way for servers to kind of balance out the game themselves and allow the developers to sort of see that, oh look, the game's way more fun to play when you remove this, and that from the game. Anyway, that pretty much wraps it up for my cleaning up Battlefield video. I think it's pretty easy to see just how bloated some of these games have become, especially when looking at past titles. So many things have been added to the game, and I don't think enough developers stop and sit down and take the time to think about, hey, do we need all these extra gadgets and bloating in the game, or is this going to just overcomplicate things, make it very hard to balance, and take away from some of the core gameplay that fans have loved for so long? Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'd love to hear your opinions in the comments as always, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.